Stoic philosophy. The secret of mental power from a Roman emperor. Imagine you are the most powerful person on earth. Beneath your feet lies an entire empire stretching from Scotland to the Sahara Desert. The Roman legions, the most fearsome military force the world has ever known, await your every nod. You could have anything. The most beautiful women, the finest wines, endless revelries. Absolute power rests in your hands. What would you do? For most people, the answer would likely be to indulge in pleasure. History is filled with kings and emperors who fell because they could not resist the allure of power and hedonism. But there was one man who chose a different path. A man from whom we still learn, even 2,000 years later. That man was Marcus Aurelius, the greatest Roman emperor in history, and one of the most profound philosophers humanity has ever known. The story of Marcus Aurelius is not just about power and restraint. It is the story of a mental revolution, a system of thought capable of completely transforming how we see the world and ourselves. This is Stoic philosophy, a profound exploration of human nature, the universe, and the true meaning of happiness. Marcus Aurelius ascended to the throne in 161 CE, during the height of the Roman Empire. He was born into a world where power meant everything. Previous emperors like Caligula and Nero had proven that absolute power could turn humans into monsters. Caligula once declared himself a god, forcing Roman senators to worship his horse. Nero burned Rome merely for poetic inspiration. But Marcus Aurelius was entirely different. When absolute power was placed before him, he did not choose to use it to satisfy personal instincts or desires. Instead, he turned inward, seeking true strength, not the power to dominate others, but the power to master himself. Each night, after long days dealing with border wars, political conspiracies, and the burden of governing a massive empire, Marcus Aurelius would sit down and write. He wrote not for publication, not for glory or legacy. He wrote as an exercise for his sole private reflections, profound questions about the meaning of life, reminders to himself about how to live properly. These writings later became Meditations, one of the most influential philosophical works in human history. This was not a dry academic treatise, but the soul of a man struggling to understand himself and his place in the vast universe. To understand the extraordinary nature of Marcus Aurelius, we must delve into the philosophy he pursued, Stoicism. This was a philosophical school that emerged in ancient Greece around the 3rd century BCE, founded by Zeno of Citium. The name Stoic comes from Stoa Poikile, the painted colonnade in Athens where Zeno taught. But Stoicism is not just an academic philosophical school. It is a system for living, a set of psychological tools that can help people cope with any challenge in life. And the miraculous thing is that these tools remain effective today, perhaps even more relevant in our modern world, filled with stress and uncertainty. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a profound exploration of the nature of control. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a former slave who became teacher to Rome, this most powerful, opened his work Enchiridion with a simple yet revolutionary statement: some things are within our power, while others are not. This sounds simple, but this statement contains one of the deepest insights into human nature that philosophy has ever discovered. It divides the world into two clear parts: what we can control and what we cannot control. And most importantly, true happiness can only be achieved when we understand this distinction clearly. Let's pause and think about our lives. How many things do we worry about each day? Work, money, what others think of us, health, the future. We get caught up in social media arguments, stressed by news, panicked by economic or political changes. We try to control every aspect of life, from how our children behave to how colleagues work, from the weather to how the world operates. But according to Stoic philosophy, most of these things fall into the category of what we cannot control. Our friends, colleagues, and loved ones have their own thoughts, emotions, and decisions. We can influence them, but we cannot control them. The economy can collapse at any time. Politicians can make decisions we disagree with. Our bodies will age and eventually die. This might sound pessimistic and hopeless, but Stoic philosophers were not pessimists. They were simply realists. They recognized that trying to control the uncontrollable is the source of all suffering in life. When we tie our happiness to external factors, whether others love us, whether we are wealthy, whether the world is fair, we place ourselves in a state of permanent powerlessness. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor of a vast empire, understood this more deeply than anyone. He could command legions to move, decide the fate of millions, but he could not prevent barbarian tribes from attacking borders, could not stop plagues from ravaging the land, could not make those around him wiser or kinder. So what belongs to us? What can we completely control? According to Epictetus, there are three things: our judgments, our actions, and our attitude toward what happens. This is a revolutionary discovery. It means that no matter how terrible external circumstances become, we still have an area of absolute freedom, the space within our own minds. Viktor Frankl, a psychologist who survived Nazi concentration camps, expressed this beautifully. Everything can be taken from man but one thing, the last of human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Imagine you have cancer. You cannot control whether you have the disease or whether treatment will succeed. But you can control how you respond to the illness. You can choose to live in fear and anger, or you can choose to accept the situation and find ways to live meaningfully with whatever time remains. You can choose to become a victim of circumstances, or choose to become the hero of your own story. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This is not fake positivity or denial of reality. This is the recognition that our minds, how we interpret and respond to the world, are the most powerful tools we have. But Stoicism doesn't stop at controlling the mind. It also offers a profound vision of how to live meaningfully. Stoic philosophers speak of living according to nature, but they don't mean we should live like animals in the forest. Nature here means the true essence of humanity and our place in the vast universe. Humans, according to Stoics, are rational beings capable of cooperation. We are not just isolated individuals, but part of a larger system, human society, and ultimately, the entire universe. Therefore, the most natural way for humans to live is according to reason and acting for the benefit of the collective, not just ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, despite being an emperor with absolute power, always remembered that he was just a small part in the great wheel of the universe. He wrote, "We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyelids, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower." He understood that his role was not to serve his personal ego, but to serve the common good of the empire and humanity. This leads to one of the most interesting paradoxes of Stoic philosophy. To find personal happiness, we must transcend ourselves and focus on something greater. When we stop seeing ourselves as the center of the universe and recognize our true place in the bigger picture, we actually find peace. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Stoicism is that it teaches us to become emotionless machines. This is completely wrong. Stoic philosophers don't deny emotions. They understand that emotions are a natural part of human experience. But they teach us an important skill: how to observe emotions rather than be controlled by them. Think of emotions like waves in the ocean. They come and go, constantly changing. If we see ourselves as a small boat being tossed around by these waves, we will always be in chaos. But if we learn to become the observer standing on the shore, watching the waves pass by, we can maintain calm even in storms. Marcus Aurelius often had to deal with difficult people, corrupt officials, disloyal generals. He could have let anger control him and become a tyrant. Instead, he practiced the skill of observing his emotions. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This doesn't mean we should suppress emotions. Instead, we learn to create distance between emotion and reaction. When someone makes us angry, instead of reacting immediately, we can pause and ask, "What is this anger trying to tell me? What response will bring the most positive outcome?" Stoicism is not just theory, it is practice. Stoic philosophers developed a series of psychological exercises to train self-control and seek inner peace. These exercises, though developed over 2,000 years ago, remain remarkably effective in the modern world. One of the most important exercises is premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. This sounds contradictory, but it's actually a powerful tool for psychological preparation for life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius often began each day by reminding himself that he would encounter difficult people, stressful situations, unwanted problems. He wrote, "Today I will meet interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. They are all due to the offender's ignorance of what is good or evil." By mentally preparing for difficulties, Marcus Aurelius didn't let them surprise or overwhelm him. This is not pessimism or self-torture. It is reality. Life will throw challenges at us. By preparing mentally, we can respond with wisdom rather than emotional impulse. When we expect difficulties, we are less likely to be knocked down by them. Another exercise is memento mori, remembering death. This sounds dark, but it's actually a powerful reminder of life's temporality. When we realize our time is limited, we won't waste it on trivial matters. We will focus on what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We are dying every day. When I speak to you and you listen, we are both a little closer to death." This reminder didn't make him gloomy, but helped him live with greater intensity and clearer purpose. Perhaps the most profound exercise in Stoic philosophy is the view from above. This is an imaginative exercise where we detach ourselves from daily worries and view life from a cosmic perspective. Imagine you are flying high, looking down at the city where you live. The major problems in daily life suddenly seem small. Continue flying higher. You see the entire country, then the continent, then all of Earth. Political conflicts, social media arguments, work worries, all become so tiny they nearly cease to exist. Continue flying out of the solar system, then out of the galaxy. From this perspective, all of human history is just a flickering light in the vast, infinite universe. Our lives, even with their most intense experiences, are just brief moments in the eternal flow of time. This doesn't mean our lives are meaningless. On the contrary, it helps us recognize true meaning. When we understand our small place in the universe, we stop wasting energy on unimportant things. We focus on what truly has value: love, compassion, making the world a little better in the brief time we have here. Marcus Aurelius often used this exercise to maintain humility despite having absolute power. He wrote, "Always think of the universe as one living being, having one being and one soul. All things cooperate together to bring about what will happen." One of the most difficult concepts in Stoicism is indifference. This doesn't mean we should become cold or apathetic toward everything. Rather, it means we learn not to be overly attached to outcomes we cannot control. Think of a skilled athlete. They train hard, prepare thoroughly, and give their best effort in competition. But they cannot control whether they win. That depends on many factors, including their opponent's performance and a bit of luck. A Stoic-minded athlete would focus entirely on the process training, preparation, and performing to the best of their ability. The outcome, whether victory or defeat, does not define their worth. Marcus Aurelius applied this principle to governing the empire. He did his utmost to be a good emperor, make wise decisions, and serve the people. but he could not control every consequence of those decisions. He could not guarantee every policy would succeed or every general would remain loyal. By focusing on what he could control and being indifferent to what he could not control, he could maintain calm and make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. You might wonder, is the philosophy of a Roman emperor from 2,000 years ago still relevant to today's world? The answer is yes, perhaps more relevant than ever. We are living in an age of information overload, constant stress, and continuous uncertainty. Every day, we are bombarded by thousands of messages through social media, news, emails, and notifications. We worry about climate change, political instability, economic uncertainty, and countless other issues over which we have little or no control. In this context, Stoic philosophy becomes an essential survival tool. It teaches us how to filter out the noise and focus on what truly matters. It helps us maintain calm in storms and make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. Many successful entrepreneurs, athletes, and leaders today apply Stoic principles. They understand that success doesn't come from trying to control everything, but from focusing on what they can do and accepting what they cannot change. There is a strange paradox in our current age. We have more power and capability than ever before. Technology allows us to connect with anyone in the world, access humanity's infinite repository of knowledge, and accomplish things previous generations could only dream of. Yet we feel more powerless than ever. Why? Because we have forgotten the basic lesson that Marcus Aurelius and the Stoic philosophers taught: the distinction between what we can control and what we cannot control. Instead, we try to control everything, from how others perceive us on social media to how the world responds to our opinions. The result is that we live in constant anxiety. We refresh Facebook for the 50th time today to see if anyone liked our post. We lose sleep worrying about news we can do nothing to change. We feel angry and helpless about injustices in the world, and this feeling erodes our happiness and mental health. Marcus Aurelius, though living in an age without internet or social media, understood this trap well. He wrote, "You always have the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." Interestingly, many discoveries of modern science have confirmed insights that Stoic philosophers had 2,000 years ago. Cognitive psychology has proven that how we interpret events is more important than the events themselves. Neuroscience has shown that we have the ability to rewire our brains through conscious practice and thinking. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most effective psychological treatments today, is based on principles nearly identical to Stoicism. CBT teaches patients to recognize the connection between thoughts, emotions, and behavior and learn to change negative thought patterns to improve mood and behavior. Mindfulness and meditation practices scientifically proven to reduce stress, improve focus, and enhance happiness also share many similarities with Stoic exercises. Both teach us to observe thoughts and emotions rather than be controlled by them. Even quantum physics has interesting connections to Stoic thought. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle shows that observing a system changes the system. This reflects the Stoic understanding that how we perceive the world actually creates the world we experience. To understand the true power of Stoic philosophy, let's return to Marcus Aurelius' story in his final years. In 180 CE, while commanding armies against barbarian tribes on the northern frontier, Marcus Aurelius fell gravely ill. He knew he would die, and he faced the most important decision of his life: who would inherit the throne? Roman tradition was for the emperor to choose the best successor, not necessarily his biological son. The great emperors before Marcus Aurelius had done this, creating the golden age of the empire. But Marcus Aurelius had a son Commodus, a person history records as cruel and corrupt. From a Stoic perspective, what Marcus Aurelius should do was clear: choose the best successor for the empire, even if it wasn't his own son. But he was also a father. Natural love for his child, the desire to protect family. These emotions were also part of human nature. In the end, Marcus Aurelius chose Commodus as his successor. This decision led to the collapse of Rome's golden age and began the empire's decline. Some historians argue this was Marcus Aurelius's greatest mistake. But perhaps this story shows us something deeper about human nature. Even a great philosopher like Marcus Aurelius was not perfect. He too had to struggle with conflicts between reason and emotion, between public duty and private feelings. And in that final moment, he chose to follow his heart rather than his head. This doesn't diminish the value of Stoic philosophy. Instead, it shows us that Stoicism is not about becoming perfect, but about trying to live better each day. It's about recognizing our flaws and continuously striving to overcome them. When we look up at the star-filled night sky, we are reminded of our small place in the vast universe. Our galaxy contains about 100 billion stars, and there are roughly 2 trillion other galaxies in the observable universe. These numbers exceed human comprehension. In this context, all our worries, ambitions, and conflicts seem insignificant. But Marcus Aurelius taught us a paradoxical lesson. Precisely because we are small in the vast universe, each moment, each choice, each action becomes infinitely precious. We have only a brief time on this earth. During that time, we can choose to live with compassion or selfishness, with wisdom or ignorance, with clear purpose or wasteful meandering. These choices, though small in cosmic context, determine the quality of our lives and our impact on the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Remember that very little disturbs the harmony of life, and it will soon be ended. Soon earth will cover us all. Then the earth, too, will change, and the things that result from change will change, and all such things will change again and again forever." This sounds grim, but it's actually liberating. When we understand that our reputation, possessions, and achievements won't last forever, we can focus on what truly matters: how we treat others, how we live in the present moment, and how we contribute to the eternal flow of existence. As we stand at the threshold of unprecedented global challenges, climate change, artificial intelligence, increasing inequality, and social polarization, the lessons of Marcus Aurelius become more urgent than ever. We cannot control what decisions world leaders will make or how technology will develop, but we can control how we respond to these changes. We can choose to live with compassion rather than fear, with cooperation rather than vicious competition, with wisdom rather than prejudice. In an increasingly divided world, Stoic philosophy reminds us that we are all part of the same human family, sharing this small planet in the vast universe. Differences in culture, religion, politics, however important they may seem, are ultimately small details compared to what connects us: the desire for happiness, the fear of suffering, and the longing to be loved and understood. When Marcus Aurelius closed his eyes for the final time in 180 CE, he might have thought his private reflections would die with him. He could never have imagined that 2,000 years later, millions of people around the world would still be reading those thoughts and finding in them the strength to face life's challenges. This is the miraculous power of true wisdom. It transcends time and space, connecting souls across centuries. The questions Marcus Aurelius asked: how to live well, how to find meaning in a seemingly meaningless universe, how to maintain compassion in a world full of suffering, remain questions each generation must answer for itself. Stoicism doesn't offer easy answers or quick solutions. Instead, it provides us with a framework for thinking, a set of psychological tools, and a vision of life that can help us overcome any challenge. It teaches us that true happiness doesn't come from getting what we want, but from finding peace with what we have. In a world where we often feel overwhelmed by enormous challenges and rapid changes, Stoic philosophy reminds us of a simple but profound truth. We are stronger than we think, wiser than we believe, and capable of contributing more than we imagine. The story of Marcus Aurelius doesn't end 2,000 years ago. It continues every day in the lives of those who choose to live with wisdom, compassion, and clear purpose. It continues in every moment we choose to focus on what we can control rather than worry about what we cannot change. It continues each time we remember that though we are small in the vast universe, we still have the ability to create meaningful change in our own world. And perhaps that is the final lesson Marcus Aurelius wanted to pass on, that each of us, though we may not be emperors or famous philosophers, has the capacity to live like a sage. We can all choose to see the world with wisdom, treat others with compassion, and live each day as if it matters because truly it does. In the silence of the vast universe, our small voices can still create meaningful ripples. And perhaps that is the most miraculous thing of all.